Welcome, everybody, once again to another episode of B&B Hockey Talks. We're here today to talk about around the NHL, all things hockey. I'm Aaron Bloxall with my co-host, Mr. Matthew Balzer. Well, Matthew, or Matt, Mr. Balzer. Let's jump right into some of the comments that came out this week by one Steven Stamkos of the Tampa Bay Lightning regarding the playoff format. Do you like it or do you hate it?
Yeah, I like it because I still think what you should do is you have the two divisions, and whoever wins the division get the top two spots, and then you just go by the amount of points for everybody else. Because if you look at the Atlantic, Tampa Bay, Boston, Toronto, they all could be in first place in the Metropolitan Division, and with Boston and Toronto, it's just that should be at least a second round matchup. Right there, but yeah, it is frustrating because if you go Tampa Bay, it's just you already have 110 points this season, and you're going to get one of Boston or Toronto in the second round, where that should probably be a conference final instead. But on the other hand, as he brings up, you got the NHL is pushing all the division rivalries in the first round and second round. You want to go that way, but I think by the end of it, I think it's whoever has the best regular seasons, you get it, that's how you should decide the playoff format.
I like the current format. I don't, and the only difference is the NHL is so good now compared to what it used to be. And they used to have 16 teams make the playoffs out of 21. Now it's still 16 teams, but out of 31 going on 32. So only half the league will make the playoffs. So I think making the playoffs, now that the NHL is as good as it is, it doesn't matter how you make the playoffs or who you play. To me, I think, Stamkos' point was Toronto and Boston are more than likely playing each other in the first round, and they could finish the second and third best records in the NHL. And he had a bit of a problem with it. But to me, they've had this issue, forever. And you look back in the 80s when there was the four divisions. We had the Smythe division, the Adams division, the Patrick division, and of course everyone remembers the Snorris division. But the Adams division several times in the 80s had, Montreal, Boston, Buffalo, Hartford, all with over 100 points. And yet they all had to play each other in the first, second rounds. And then whoever would get through that carnage would usually easily take care of the Patrick division winner. So it's been a thing that they've always had. But I don't remember people complaining openly about it as much as they are today. Back then, nobody complained that Montreal had to play Boston 6 years in a row back then. And yet, as fans, we absolutely love it. I love it because of the rivalries. It was meant to show you the rivalries and to create rivalries. And, that's just one rivalry I love to see.
Yeah, it's just I think you got reward reward the top teams because it is an 82 game season, so it is a grind. So if you come out on top, you should deserve the best matchups, and even then you'll still get most likely the big matchups like Boston and Toronto would have most likely have faced each other in the second round anyways, but instead that'll be a first round matchup, which does suck. But yeah, it's for me, I agree with Stamkos, but it is what it is. But you can also see 2 years ago where the Metropolitan Division was the better division when they had 5 teams all with 100 points.
Yeah,
and you had the Rangers as a wild card team, I believe, and they crossed over into the Atlantic. So you never know, because some years it could be the other way, but especially with the way the Atlantic stacked up now, Toronto, Boston, and Tampa Bay, they're going to be the top 3 teams in the Eastern Conference for many years to come.
Well, and I look at a team like Tampa way out in first. They are being rewarded in the first round. They are playing the second wild card team. And it could be potentially down the road, that second wild card could be better than second and third place in that division. That's just the way it goes. And it always has happened this way. Even the one year the Canucks in '94, I believe, they had an incredible team, bad regular season team, barely made the playoffs, finished in seventh in the conference, and had to play Calgary right out of the gates and ended up walking through. But it's just the way playoffs is too. I like it. I think it creates rivalry. I mean, you and I have been talking on the show for a while now about Boston, Toronto, potentially Pittsburgh, Washington, Winnipeg, Nashville, San Jose, Vegas. I mean, these are just natural rivalries that I think we're all starting to like as fans. And you see teams like Nashville at the trade deadline. I mean, a lot of the moves they made before and at the trade deadline were because they know they have to go through Winnipeg in order to get to the conference finals. So these teams are prepared for it. They know that they have to get through it. I love it because as a fan, it's great hockey to watch. So that being said, you also have some milestones and there's several milestones. So why don't we go through some of those?
Yeah. So last night there were a couple. So Alexander Ovechkin picked up his 1,200th career point, and Yevgeny Malkin picked up his 1,000th career point, both in the same game. With that, they were the top two picks in the 2004 draft, and now with each of those guys getting over 1,000 points, the top two picks in a draft with the top two picks getting 1,000 points has only happened 3 other times in NHL history. In 1971, Guy Lafleur and Marcel Dion. In 1987, Pierre Turgeon and Brendan Shanahan. And in 1997, Joe Thornton and Patrick Marleau. Those are the only other 1-2 overall picks that have each gotten over 1,000 points, which is pretty crazy because usually you think the top 2 picks are pretty much guaranteed. But I think Malkin ended up only being the 88th person in NHL history to reach that 1,000 point mark. But yeah, they're probably if you throw Kucherov in there, the top 3 Russian players in the NHL right now. And Evgeny Malkin's one of my favorite guys to watch, especially when he's on his game. Like, I still remember, I believe it was on their first cup run, where it was that in the conference finals against Carolina, where he had the hat trick. And he came out for his hat trick goal, came out from behind the net and just did like a no-look backhand top shelf over Ward's glove. Just absolute beauty, and especially in those playoffs, he was more dominant than Sidney Crosby in that entire playoff run. But yeah, him and Alexander Ovechkin, Ovechkin's my favorite player to watch in the NHL, and he's going to be on for like another 50-goal season. He's at 46 right now. But yeah, it's a couple of huge milestones there. And then we had
Carey Price last night for sure.
Yes, and in Montreal, Carey Price passed Jacques Plante for most franchise wins in Habs history with his 315th of his career. Man, what can you say about him? He's had a great turnaround season, especially from last season where he was just terrible. I know people were mad that we didn't have him on our top 10 list, but if you have a season that bad, it's hard to put him on a top 10 list. But yeah, he was great last night, especially in the third period there. I think he had that great breakaway save on Bertuzzi, and then stood tall after that. This isn't a franchise mark or anything, but Ben Bishop had his 3rd straight shutout last night. So he's gone 204 minutes and 20 seconds without allowing a goal, as Dallas has gone 7-3 in their last 10 games, and they really look to be solidifying that bottom wild card spot. And you never know, they might catch St. Louis, who's been struggling just a little bit of late, and with some injuries to key guys like Tarasenko. You never know, they could catch them for that 3rd spot.
Well, and we said both Nashville and Winnipeg also struggling. So that it'll be interesting to see how that division shakes up for playoffs. And of course, Arizona holding the 8th spot right now, which is a little surprising, but not surprising as well because Minnesota traded a lot of assets away at the trade deadline. I don't think they were planning on playing in the playoffs. or making the playoffs. I mean, obviously it's a bonus if they do. Arizona definitely pushing. Chicago up 4-0 right now on the Leafs tonight. They're pushing. They're semi-close to the playoff spot as well. And Colorado, of course, losing Landeskog was a big blow for them. But it'll be interesting to see if they're good enough to claw in for that final playoff spot. A few key injuries that you want to update us on.
Yeah, so a big blow for the Ottawa Senators as they lost Thomas Chabot with a broken toe. He's week to week, but his season is most likely done.
That's a small blow compared to the owner that they have there.
And then we head to Toronto, where Kasperi Kapanen, he missed last game with an illness, and that has now turned into a concussion. So there's no timetable for his return there. With Dustin Byfuglien out in Winnipeg, there's still no timetable for his return. He's been in and out of the lineup this entire season. In Carolina, Calvin DeHaan's out indefinitely with an eye injury. And just for Canuck-wise, we have Chris Tanev. He's coming back tonight after an ankle injury. Sven Baertschi, he hasn't been activated off injured reserve, but he was skating with the full group today, which is good news because he's just been skating by himself for the last little while here.
And that seems to be a pretty big group right now with all the free agents coming in and the signings.
Yeah, Quinn Hughes won't be making his debut tonight, but I'm expecting he won't play until next week with that ankle injury that he's dealing with right now.
10 defensemen right now in practice, which is shocking. But
yeah, and if you didn't see that, the Canucks made a college signing. I believe it was something Tevis. Out of college, he was with the Canucks over in the summer. He was at their prospects camp, sort of thing. So he's expecting to get into a couple of games before then.
I've heard there's a Bo Horvat connection there. I'll have to look into it a little bit more. But Tevez and Horvat apparently have some sort of connection, so we'll find out more on that. As we've heard from Jim Benning that Tevez may get in 4 or 5 games down the stretch here to kind of showcase who he is and what he has. He only got a 1-year deal, and I don't think it was to play in Utica, so it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. But why don't you give us the final word here before we wrap up today's show?
All right. So the last thing to bring up, the NHL announced when the draft lottery will be done. It will be April 9th. The night before the playoffs begin. So us as Canuck fans and all you fans of all the teams that aren't going to make the playoffs, that will be the big date to circle, April 9th. Everybody's going to be going for Jack Hughes, and if not, Capo Kakko has been having a crazy good season in Finland as well. I think he's actually tied, last time I saw, Alexander Barkov for most goals by an under-18 player in the Finnish league there. So both of those guys will be franchise players for whoever gets those top 2 picks. But yeah, otherwise, today's highlights will be up on Facebook. Sorry, I had a long day at work today. Sort of tired, but yeah, today's highlights will be up on Facebook. If they aren't up right away, there were some uploading problems getting stuff posted to Facebook. So hopefully by the time this is up, I'll be able to get the highlights on. But there's only 3 games tonight, so it's not as big of a worry. But all the top highlights will be up hopefully later tonight.
Excellent. Remember to like and subscribe to us on YouTube or Facebook and comment below. Let us know what you think. Talk to us about your favorite team and what subjects you want us to talk about on all the ongoings around the NHL and other hockey talk if you have some, because this is everything hockey talk show. So thanks very much for watching or listening wherever you may be, and we look forward to bringing you the next episode on our Friday Canucks edition in a couple days' time. Have a great evening, everyone.